It's approximately 7 o'clock. It's Tuesday, December 10th, 2019. We're at the train depot in North Bennington, and this is the Village of North Bennington Board of Trustees meeting. Tonight we have an agenda. We'll just approve the minutes and the warrants and then get straight into the business, which will include a public comment. So has everyone reviewed the minutes from the meeting of November 12th, 2019? Okay, is there a correction? Yeah, what's...
In the, at the end, the very last paragraph on the first page, it is to approve a municipal loan of up to $140,000, not of $140,000.
Okay, great. So that's changed with that amendment. Is there any objection to the minutes being approved and entered into our record? Objections? No objection. And so that is unanimously approved. The payroll warrant is in the amount of $6,859.89.
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Go ahead and sign that, enter that into the record. And there's a warrant for today for the bills, payment of the bills in the amount of $79,642.52. This is the primary payments are to insurance and the school district.
I just had a couple quick ones. Global Montello Group. I think I saw something for. Is that something for the fire department?
That's fuel for the fire department, yes. Fuel,
Oh, is that the diesel?
vehicle
Okay.
fuel.
And it was 3 months worth somehow. We weren't getting those bills.
No.
So that was the question I brought up last time when we were
Yeah.
them asking me. So
Correct.
we weren't getting the bills. Was that the issue?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And the other, what was the last one? State of Vermont for $3,491.
Actually, if I could, have you seen Global Montello Group before 3 months ago, or is that a new?
We've had them for years.
Yeah.
They did change their name from Champlain Oil.
Okay.
Um,
So there was,
perhaps,
they haven't been charging for other fuels, and this is
this is for 3
When
months
we look
worth.
at-
And we received their September bill properly,
alright, perfect,
and then it stopped after September.
okay, great.
The state of Vermont are the 2 lease payments for this building and the
Okay.
storage shed.
So is there a motion to approve that warrant?
So
Second. And all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move directly into actually this next item about citizen comments. And can you, if you would, just identify yourself and have a seat here. And we can have our discussion.
Conversation.
Yes.
Lisa Whitman.
Okay.
I don't know where you want me to start.
So I want to, so the issue that you're coming to us about tonight is about a property that's you don't feel is safe or sanitary, essentially. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you know the address of the property, or?
992 Water Street.
Okay. I think that's about, it might be 993, but I think it's pretty
Somewhere in there,
like
yeah.
that. Okay. And do you know the owner?
I don't know them personally. It used to be the Grattons.
Okay.
They passed away, and I believe their daughter Sharon owns the property now.
Okay. And, but there's a, it's
The
not
tenant.
owner occupied, right?
Correct. The tenant is Nathan Sweet.
And have you had any interaction with Mr. Sweet about the property?
No.
And I say interaction, I know maybe you haven't had a discussion with him. Has there been any sort of across the fence chat or maybe different than, is there any back and forth at all?
At night, he was burying garbage out back. He was waiting till after dark I want to say it's a skid steer, but that's because I don't know what the things are. And we were in bed trying to sleep, so my husband did go out and asked him to not run heavy equipment after 8 o'clock at night because we get up early in the morning. And he agreed and was fine and turned it off that night, but it continued to happen a few nights after that until it finally stopped. He was, from what we could tell the next day, because it was dark out so we couldn't see, is that he was pushing what appears to be garbage covered by brush, because there were pieces of like plastic and stuff underneath brush that's in the back of our property, which is the way back of the Bratton property, which was all overgrowth before he did that.
So he's been cleared out.
Yeah.
So, I think that we've been alerted to this property previously. We've had exchanges with Bennington to try to have their health inspector deal with this or to have a conversation with Mr. Sweet. And it's my understanding that hasn't happened, that they have talked to one another and made perhaps on a regular basis. This isn't to your satisfaction.
Correct.
You're telling us that that's not resulting in a solution that works for you. And I know that the town has had a discussion with the owner as well. But I think what you're saying is that you would like the village to treat the property as something that's in violation of an ordinance that the village might have, so that to try and get additional enforcement, essentially.
Yes, I would like the madness to stop. I would like the 24/7 barking dogs. I would not like to find rats in my yard. And I would not like to be told that the rats are there from the health department's perspective, Larry's perspective, and Stu, because I have a letter here from them, that this is the Parent Creek corridor and rodents are common to that, as well as the fact is there's other debris on homes on Hillside Street that the rats could be coming from. I've lived there 20 years and have never had a rat on my property until this man came along and started bringing loads of junk in and broken down vehicles and just disrupting all kinds of things out there. And to add insult to the injury, which is my other thing that I don't know where the village, who I talked to about that I want to somehow put a waiver in or something, that my tax bill was 2 days late. And I was charged $250 per penalty for that being 2 days late. When I've been dealing with this for a year and a half and expected to be patient while everybody does whatever needs to be done to get it done properly. That just was the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back. I can't take one more thing.
Okay. Well, I want to get to that, but I think that is a separate issue than the nuisance issue.
Okay.
So I think Mark has had some discussions with the health inspector in Bennington, and we thought, I had a discussion with the owner of the property. This was all last spring. And just from my own observations, I know that there was an enormous pile of stuff, from when the trailer was there and other garbage and everything, and that there was a significant amount of material that was removed. At least I hope. I hope it wasn't all just buried, but it seemed like there were dumpsters there at one point at the beginning of the summer, and that at least a couple of them roll-offs were taken out. That doesn't solve the problem, is what you're saying, and I appreciate that. I'm not here to argue that you don't have a problem there.
Okay.
But I do have to act as a municipal official and say, I can't, you know, just go over there, you know, with my fists up and say, get your act together. You know, that's not how the law works essentially, but, so what I'd like to do is continue our conversations with the town, or to see if they, you said that you had a letter?
I do.
We didn't receive any letter, so I.
They sent me a letter as well as a copy of North Bennington's bylaws
Oh,
with the area.
John, I dropped that
We
off
did
with you.
receive that letter, actually, didn't we?
I dropped that off with you, you were
With the
definitely.
area that he thinks is North Bennington's problem and not the town of Bennington.
I think maybe that was what got me confused, is because I think what you were saying was not what I remember reading.
Because early on in the conversation, there was a period where they were actually very helpful. So I went in, I had the conversations, they agreed, they went, they had conversations with the tenant. And that's when things were kind of moving, and we had conversations in that period sometimes where there was some kind of, you know, there was progress being made, we thought we were all moving in the right direction. And from what it sounds like, it was maybe to a point where they felt like they had satisfied things to a point, and then things might have turned,
They
either
never
stalled or turned to
They
the.
never responded to me. They may have responded to you, but they
Well, no, this wasn't a response
Oh,
to me
okay.
directly, it was just after the conversations we had with the health inspector, with the town of Bennington, there was progress being made, that we had seen dumpsters being
yes,
loaded,
yes.
emptied from the street, which
Yes.
is obviously what most of us can see.
Right.
Things did appear to be moving in the right direction, and so I think things may, you know, partially obviously on our fault as well. By seeing that, we probably figured things were continuing.
And I
Moving
offered
in the right
everyone
direction.
to come into my backyard at any time they wanted to. The police department could come in, none of them, they all had a blanket permission slip for me to come in so that you can see what's actually happening back at the home.
With the, in terms of the dog issue, I mean, that is strictly, I mean, I've personally walked to the police station and handed them a copy of our ordinance, how it reads, and so, and we were having success. Are we still having success with them following up?
The
When they
police
call,
are-
do they come?
I don't know if they come or not. They say they're coming, I'm assuming that they're coming, but the problem is that if the dogs have to bark for a solid 15 minutes, and I'll tell you,
Right.
sometimes I don't even call when they're barking, they can be barking an hour and a half or so straight. And then I can't take it and I'll call. And the dogs stop. I don't know if the police goes and
Sure.
issues a ticket, I'm not sure, because I don't know how to or if I needed to follow that up. I just assumed that that would occur. And it
That's-
has in the past. The
that's
police department
typical.
has been very helpful.
Okay.
They've done everything that they could possibly do to help this situation.
Because
It's,
that's unfortunate, but the only thing we can do about a noise violation like that, our only recourse is we call the police, they respond, they issue
So I-
tickets to, I believe it's actually the property owner.
Right.
and
So
not the town.
so what I've taken from this is three issues. You've got, there was garbage, which Larry McLeod is addressing in the letter, is saying that the health inspector deals with garbage on the property, which is not, which is considered a health and safety issue. So he goes over there, did apparently see some garbage, and got Mr. Sweet to clean that up to his satisfaction. But then he notes these other problems, which are the basically junk on the property. And I think that is what you're complaining about at this point. Or talking about, I don't mean to say you're complaining.
Oh, no, I'm complaining about it all.
Okay, fine. But I don't mean it in a negative
No,
way
I
towards
know.
you.
I know.
But the problem, the current problem is material that, for whatever reason, the health inspector doesn't consider to be garbage. I agree with him, and his letter is that should fall under our zoning regulations. And so I think what we can do is take both the letter and our observations here to our zoning administrator, Chris Damon, and make sure that he's following through on his part of it. Now, if it turns back to garbage, then we can go back to the health inspector. If it's more zoning, then we go. But I think what you're doing is the right thing, which is continually raising the issues so that the right person can be dealing with that. Now, that may be basically eternally frustrating to you because there's only certain options that we have as a village. I do not have the option to say, hey man, we've been dealing with this for 2 years now, it's time that you go. I can't remove them from the property, I can't tell
And I'm
the
not even
owner that
asking
we have to
that.
like, you know, take it over by tax sale or something. I mean,
The only thing I wanted is to protect my own property, and no one has been able to help me with that.
it does not, that doesn't seem like, the protection of your property honestly sounds more like a nuisance lawsuit between you and him.
I'm concerned about the rats. Even the dog barking gets on my last nerve to where I can't even take it anymore, but the rats are, that's where I draw the line. I
That's
draw
right.
the line right there.
And I know that was the conversation I had with Larry, when the last time he had gone to inspect, he said he could not find evidence of an infestation. And to his, when he went in and inspected, it was no longer household garbage. It was like construction debris and lawn and things like that. But if he's basing that on an observation he did 6 months ago, the circumstances could have changed drastically from that, and it could be that there is household garbage now. So if I go in and say that through observation, we are noticing, you said you're noticing plastic bags mixed in with.
With the brush that he moved
So if
over
I
the
go in
back.
then and say, so if the circumstances have changed, I would assume that that would change his opinion on whether he should go and at least take a look. And if he goes and takes a look and has the same opinion, then again, we would have to find a different avenue, you know, to pursue. But I mean, to me, it would be if you are seeing garbage, then he should be able to at least come and take a look and say, yes, it's garbage, or no, it's not.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
My name is Doug Whitman. I live at the same residence, 13 Hillside Street. You can go to any dump and pick up all the garbage and put it in a can, but when you disturb the wildlife that's feeding off of that, they just go.
Yeah.
So where do you think they go? They go to my house, they go to the 4 houses down the road, they go to the field up top. Just because you don't see them during the daylight, when they go over there, they're out at night.
Right, but
So-
Like you said, there might not
So
be any
here's my
infestation
question.
because
right.
How do we get somebody to continuously say, okay, I'm gonna use Norm for an example. He's a foreman. He has people that works underneath him. So he goes around and makes sure everybody does their job, right? As a board, do we have somebody that can check up on that property once a month? They'll say, listen, this isn't being done, or this isn't being done. Yeah, great, they've done a great job, they're picking things up, it's awesome. But it's stopped, and it's because nobody's been,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Nobody's going over going, hey,
Right. Because we don't. So the
Yes.
village of North Bennington, we have no employees that are tasked to do that. That's why we are still attached loosely to the town of Bennington.
Very
And our
loosely.
tax dollars go there. That's why we get police protection from the town of Bennington. Otherwise, we would be, you know, we would have to hire our own. which
well,
would
as
be
a board
reserved.
member, do you have that right to, being that this is an open investigation, however you want to put it? Do you as a board member, as a town employee, as a town official, have the right to go to that property or come to my house and go, oh, wait a minute, nothing's been done, I'm gonna take some more pictures, we'll give it another 30 days, we'll come back, take some more pictures, nothing's being moved.
Not without the right person. Like, I don't think that I have the right to go down there and approach him as a board member. What I can do is, as a board, we can say, you know, we consider this a health hazard. We then go to the health officials for the town of Bennington, and we've had mixed results. They've been helpful sometimes. They're, you know, it's like everybody else. They have a budget, and they have what time they have to donate to, or to yeah, for lack of a better word, to divvy up between the whole town. So it is, yes, we will, and they'll do it on their schedule. And so we can advocate through the right agencies to get help in the right way, like dropping off our ordinance to the police department and saying, this is the issue, here's you know, proof that we have been part of our
I don't know if
ordinances.
ordinances.
is really, I think the village of North Bennington, and again, so we're trustees that are expressing our understanding of how the process works here. And we might disagree, or we could make a motion and decide what we think we have a right to do here and everything, but it's my opinion that the village retains an ability to deal with problem properties under an ordinance structure, so that we do have ordinances that are separate from Bennington, but I think that the end result is not going to be what you're looking for, because if you say, oh, there's a problem property, we say, okay, we agree with you, that is a problem property. I think in a best case scenario, which I don't know if we could put our finger on that ordinance right now because it's not organized in that way, that we pass an ordinance, it doesn't go in a book like Bennington's does, it's not published online. We have to go back through our records and try to figure out when that was passed and what exactly it covered and whether we still have the authority to enforce that. Even if we did, we would make a motion and say, okay, we're going to declare that this place is a safety hazard. Well, then what? Then we don't really have the independent authority as board members to like go over there and do something physically. We would then say, okay, well, should we hire somebody to approach him, or should we have a law enforcement officer go over there, or should we?
Well, my question
is,
is,
best case scenario.
So John, where we would disagree on that, we actually, that's where the town of Bennington has helped us in the past with exactly that issue. We had a property in the village. We went through the building inspectors. They came in and basically said, yes, it is. And they actually told us how to proceed with that. We do have to sometimes involve, our lawyers in drawing up the agreement between us and the property owner. But that's exactly how we've done it in the past. We've gone through the town of Bennington because our tax dollars do go there. They can't tell us exactly what those tax dollars, every penny and how they divvy it up and what, but it is basically our tax dollars go there, and it does afford us some benefits, like police protection and the health inspectors. They have come over, they've already looked at that property. They came and helped us with one of the depot properties here. They helped us with a property right in the center of the village, down behind Powers. And they came in, they inspected, and then from there we followed up, having a meeting with lawyers and insurance companies and the property owner to come up with an agreement on how we're going to remedy the situation. So the town of Bennington does, when we're lucky and things all align right, they do have a certain responsibility to follow up on things that they are capable of. One is to help.
I agree that we have the option to use their services for those health issues. I agree with that, but I think that we do retain our own independent authority, and I think that's the letter is kind of indicating that these two separate issues should be addressed. That he sees it more of a zoning issue at this point, which I'd like to have Chris Damon make a determination, because the last time that I talked to him in the spring, he felt that it wasn't a zoning issue. So I'd like to have his opinion now, because I think that it's moved into a zoning issue that hopefully we could.
and I by all means don't want you guys to confront him. That's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What I'm asking is, if you come to my house and are standing on my property and take pictures, and you go to the town of North Bennington or town of Bennington, they're going to believe you over they're going to believe me, because you are the trustees.
And if nothing else, like I said, I've had a fairly good relationship with both these people for a long time. I'm confident that if I went in there and had a conversation, they would at least steer me in the right direction on where we could go.
Because when we call, it's basically not our problem, it's the trustees, it's North Bennington's problem.
It's constantly put back
So,
on Bennington.
As we're in the same boat you are, we pay taxes to Bennington too.
Well, I think, I'm reading this letter, and I do think if he thinks, I know that Larry has been there on multiple occasions, so I think that he probably has seen the property more than us. I don't know if he doesn't see it more than you, but maybe you only see it from one angle. I mean, he says that he's even gone on there to see that there are traps and poison on his property too. So he's apparently trying to, deal with rats on his side as well. I don't know if that continues after Larry leaves, or maybe, a week after he leaves, then he stops putting the poison in or something, but, I kind of agree that if it is material, that is more of a zoning issue than garbage.
So
Go ahead.
I think you're right that we should ask Chris to push forward on what the bylaws are saying, and that's our next step.
Because
Put more pressure,
this
as their
seems
last
like
thing says, put more pressure on them to maybe light a fire.
And right in the letter, he did say he would continue to kind of monitor. Now, maybe that could be, hey, do you mind taking a drive-by if I went into his office and said, we appreciate your help, and maybe if you just took a drive-by, they're claiming that they're seeing actual garbage bags mixed in with the debris, so maybe that would.
That's the problem. The
Give him a-
problem is that it's in back of the house. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever gone there or seen this, but he has some sort of, for the longest time, a wall of what I want to say is old building debris or something that goes in back of his house. So that if you come up the driveway, you don't see in the backyard because there's this wall of, I don't know what there. So I don't know if anybody's actually, the police department, yes, because they saw the living conditions that the dogs were in, yes. So I know the police department was back there. I don't know if the health inspector was ever back there.
So,
Because from the road, yeah, looks like he's doing a great
well,
job.
that's why we were actually.
Although there's different degrees, so there's garbage moved out and dumpsters moved out and then junk cars brought in. So it's never fully clean, there's always,
Well, we do have, and you're not allowed to keep
Same.
unregistered vehicles in your property, on the front of your property or your
Well,
driveway. You
it's-
keep
Go
them in-
anywhere on your property, I've read the bylaws.
For longer than 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I know the guy's
So-
trying to make money with scrapping cars, and I don't have a problem so much with that as what's in the cars, or what's in the vehicles that he's bringing,
Yeah.
or the stuff that got buried, and null and void with anything's happening, because now it's snow, and you can't see nothing.
Well, today took care of that.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying though?
Yeah, no,
And
no, I
this is the way it goes null. And then you start firing up and complaining, and then all of a sudden something starts happening, and then it goes null again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
You have to do that.
It might be good to also consider the property owner too. I don't know if,
no way to get a hold of her. I have no way to get a hold of her. You know, what I mean, she doesn't live there. I know she lives in
This is
Sandy.
San Diego, that's it.
So, I mean, as far as phone number, address, any of that stuff, and to be totally honest with you, I shouldn't have to call her. You know, this has been going on for a year and a half, almost 2
She's the
years.
problem.
She knows what's going on. You know, you try to talk to everybody in the neighborhood and try to, you try to do the right thing and be respectful, and it's like it doesn't get you anywhere. You know, you have to be the pain in the neck that has to go to the town meetings, and, I don't want to be that guy.
But the unfortunate thing is that's really the only way that we get made aware of certain things.
So that's why I was asking that,
Which is-
point before, do we have somebody that we can put on this
So
situation that can, once a month, go and see, hey, wait a minute, there's nothing being done here.
Yeah. So that would come after we come up with an agreement on whether he is in violation, and then that's the process afterwards, where we would kind of come up with a negotiation on, so if we can move in the right direction, we would give him a certain amount of time, but that's kind of the next step. I would be happy to go back in and talk to Stu and talk to Larry, and just, relay some of your concerns. I don't know where, I would be happy to go out to your property and take a look. I'd be a little leery of me standing in there, being on board and taking pictures of somebody's property. I don't know if that's a violation of, I would have to find out if that's, I would be happy to do that. And I'd be happy to come to your property and take a look and just tell them what I've seen too. And and then we can, I mean, I'm happy to follow up with you and tell you what they've told me, and
Stu's probably not gonna be as nice and calm with you when he talks to you because he got a wreck of me. So
Oh,
if
he's
you're
yeah,
talking about me and the fact that I'm angry about it, he's probably gonna say,
yeah. Well, that's his decision.
Good luck.
I
I
don't
just
have a
think-
very
I don't
high
mind, I
opinion
get yelled at
these
for
days.
everything I do, so I don't care if he gets upset.
I just think after a year and a half, we're beyond this. We should be beyond, well, let's see what our next step is.
For me,
You know what
it's
I mean?
every step that I
We
take
sh-
to try to prevent something, nothing has happened. Like what I said that I didn't want to happen, which is rats on my property. How do I protect my property? How do I keep the rats out? I was told, that they don't see any rats. So if they don't see any rats, it's not a big deal. Well, I have a picture of a dead rat in my yard. So I have proof that there's now a rat in my yard and there hasn't been.
And that's the thing
So-
that
And
nobody.
again, what they're gonna come back with, and again, not to belabor this point.
Oh, they did.
If they go in, inspect, and don't find evidence of it, unless they watch the rat come out of, which is kind of, and your point is exactly that, it's kind of hard to catch things when it's happening in a certain moment. Which
Well,
is
not only that, but
unfortunate.
they also know that he's putting rat poison out.
Traps out.
And he's putting traps out. I've got rat poison out around the whole border of my property. So it's, you know what I
We
mean?
spent thousands of dollars on our own because no one gave us these ideas. He spent most of the summer building something underneath our house, around our house, to try and protect rats from getting in our house. I've spent a lot of money at Women's Feed Store getting all kinds of stuff that you spray your property line with, as well as decon to throw over there. I mean, everything humanly possible to make sure it doesn't happen on my own, because I've asked for help and not gotten any. And there, I still ended up with a rat in the yard.
We got grandchildren, that's one of the big things with me. I had to take my grandkids' toys down in the little playground, but they don't come to my house to go swimming. They came to my house one time this summer, and that you're now threatening my livelihood, because anybody here got grandkids? Try not seeing them for a summer. Because you got rats and rat poison, and you don't want your grandkids around that stuff, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, enough is enough, that's all. I just want somebody to say, okay, this is what we're gonna do, we're gonna have somebody do this, we're gonna have them follow up, we're gonna take pictures, and this is what's gonna happen, and just do it. I mean, I don't care if it gets done in the spring, but just make sure it gets done. Because I'm tired of having to call the police department. Sooner or later.
But again, so that's something, the unfortunate, that's something you can't stop doing, because if you stop doing that, then that delays the process too. If you've got to be, when there is a noise ordinance violation, you call it every single time. I know it shouldn't be your responsibility, but whose responsibility is it? Like, I can't call from my house because I don't know when the dogs are barking.
Well, no, I'm saying we
And the
have.
unfortunate thing is, if you don't make the call every time, that's when things get done, is when you are reporting this and it's happening 5 days a week and they're going to the property 5 days a week. They understand the amount of resources they're putting into, making that call every single time, because that's their job and they will do it.
Yeah.
So they'll keep coming, and the property owner will eventually be sick, because I believe the way that works, I think what the officers told me was, the violation actually goes to the property owner, not to the dog owner or the tenant.
I believe one of the officers.
Who's-
So she's compiling all these bills if they're issuing tickets. So again, I don't know if that's happening,
Yeah.
but the more you're calling them, the more they're showing up.
They had already issued a few tickets. to her.
Yeah, but that's something you've got to continue to do. So if you stop doing, like you said, things start to happen, and then if you stop saying things when they start to happen, then that's where a gap comes in. If things are still a problem, but there is being progress made, you still call when the problems are happening. Okay, because that's how,
I want to make sure and give you some time to also talk about the tax bill, because
Yes.
you weren't the only one that
Lost their mind.
alerted me to that situation. So we have had a policy in place in the village for many years, or at least several years, that there's a strict deadline. It's not it's not a range of date, but it's a date certain. And it's my understanding that the bills should have been received in early or mid-September. So we allow, residents to kind of make their own schedule as to when they want to pay the bill. The taxes due date is essentially the last day. But so there's, any one of the 60+ days in between that are available to pay, but then if it's past the date, then it's not that it's a $200 fine, it's a percentage.
8%.
So, is it 8% of the bill? Okay, and was that,
And 1% interest.
okay, so is
So
it?
she's correct. It's not, it's significant.
And my understanding about, my only thinking as to an 8% fee like that would be that it's punitive. So that
It is the
so that it
same
would
fee
be-
that you will find for every municipality in Vermont.
But Vermont state also states up to, you have the choice to up to 8%.
Correct.
It doesn't say you have to charge
No,
8%.
but I can't find anyone in Vermont that doesn't do it.
It doesn't
And I
matter,
know
it doesn't
that-
do it, I'm saying that the law
You're
states
correct.
up to 8%.
Yes, they can. And I know that you've had the same issue with Bennington,
Yes,
and they also have their 8%.
and they got 6,500 pennies, which is why Stu Bird probably doesn't like me right now, and I really don't care.
That's okay.
Because that's what I brought him, 6,650 pennies in a bucket.
And
This is how frustrating it's become.
That's how I lost my
now,
mind.
I will tell you this, and I know it's not a great remedy, but clearly you have an issue with your property. And I don't want to conflate the two things because they're two totally different matters. But I will only mention that a remedy that you do have, a potential remedy, is if the surroundings of your property are so egregious that they're detracting from the value of your property, you can go to the listers and ask for a revaluation of your property. And if they lower the property value based on all of those factors, and if they retro it to the current year, then you will be refunded, both from North Bennington and Bennington, whatever that difference is, including a proration of interest and penalty.
So
But the thing is, I paid my taxes early one year,
Yeah.
so that I wouldn't be late, and they sent it back to me. It came back to me from the village because it was too early.
Yes,
So,
okay.
A part payment or full payment?
no full payment.
If you had, I don't remember, and I've been doing this only 4 years, I do remember one time, but I don't believe it was your property. Somebody paid a payment early. We don't have the ability to do that. If somebody takes your payment early, we would have to have an accounting system to keep all of that, keep track of that, and then the municipality has to pay that taxpayer 1% per month or fraction thereof that they're early. We don't have the means to do that here, so we can't take it early. We can take it, and many people do, I wouldn't say many, several people, the minute they get their tax bill, they start making payments towards it, so that they don't, have the whole
That was
thing
the
at the
case.
same
The case
time.
is I work in northern Vermont, so by the time I get down here, the bank is closed and your lovely little hours that you have out here are gone. Everybody's gone.
Mhm.
So for me, the hours happened to be when I had a day off that I got to the post office.
And it is on all of the notices that are posted in the post office, library, town offices, that if anybody needs a time that is not within those hours, I list a phone number and I meet people by
Never saw that
appointment.
anywhere.
It was on that notice that was in the post office.
And I probably have noticed
Yeah.
those in the post
Yeah.
office.
And there is a phone number on the tax bills, and some people just call and request special times to meet, and I'm happy to do that. We don't have an office. We have
But
one
my
person.
experience with calling and having somebody call me back,
Yeah.
I got a better chance calling the White House and asking Trump for a phone call than I do having a single soul return my phone calls other than Mark.
I was gonna say.
Well,
Other than Mark, you're the only one.
We have this phone here, it is a voicemail. It is checked daily unless I'm out of town.
Well, you called me.
I called
didn't get
you,
it.
I called
did
Mark,
not
I called
call you
Lori.
back.
And I call people, if not the same day, within
I'm not
24
sure who
hours.
you are.
I'm Mary Rogers.
Okay, I called you,
Yes.
and you sent me a letter with a little note on
Right.
it saying that
And
you
you
talked
gave
to
me
John.
2 phone numbers, and I called both of them, and I left a message at the second one.
Hopefully that was my mobile phone.
I called one number first, couldn't tell you which one it was.
Yeah.
Didn't get an answer there, and it was a staticky line, so I thought it might be a mobile number. The second one was more local, so that was probably a house, and that's where I left the message.
I recognize that.
And you and I have spoken in the past.
Yes, we have.
I try not to call
about
people
this,
back.
because I'm
So just
not
so
willing to
you
pay
know.
this $240, I can tell you that, I'm not at all pleased. I don't even know who the lister is, so you can tell me who the lister is.
I
or who
don't know the
listers are.
listers, your property would be done by Bennington, North Bennington doesn't have listers. So our properties are either assessed by Bennington, in most of our cases, or District 1 would be Shasberry.
Is that something that you have to pay to have done?
I don't believe you do. I have never done it, and I have little experience with it, but it is my understanding that everyone has the right to ask.
Well, yeah, you can ask, but if there's a $500 bill on it, I mean, what's the sense of asking? You know what I'm saying?
I'm simply trying to find
Yeah.
some
But why should
possible
I,
option
I
for
mean,
you.
and I understand that, and I agree, options are great, but why should I have to have my property devalued because of somebody else's stupidness?
I don't
And I'm gonna be
disagree
blunt at
with
this
you.
point.
That goes back to the first
I'm simply trying to
You
tell
know
you
what I'm
if
saying?
you feel
Right.
that's a.
So, and it is a double-edged sword. If you have your property assessed lower, then your property is worth less. So you don't necessarily want to do that, but.
Well, remember though,
that's
that's
that.
tax appraisal, not real appraisal, which are two very different things. Your tax appraisal has nothing to do with your real value. Your-
And the flip side is
They're
they
often
could,
very different.
the flip side is they could go and say it's actually you were undervalued, so you are
Right.
kind of flipping a coin, but
But I think
a
that,
number of people do that.
you are, unfortunately, you're intersecting with a couple of different problems that we do have in the village. You know,
A couple.
We have, I think we have a great community and it's nice to live here, but there's also some problems with a small community, like that we don't have an office and we don't have an employee to be in the office. And, if you're in Shasberry, it's probably not as much of a big deal to pay your tax bill because there's somebody, the clerk is in the office that you can go and talk to, ask a question, pay the bill. But we don't have that, and we don't pay for that either.
Right.
So if you paid we're billed the fee for the tax bill, but the tax bill would have been whatever, probably 8% higher if we paid a full-time clerk and had it in the office. So, but I get it, and I mean, to be frank with you, I didn't know until this year when you called and other people called about the amount. I do think that's a little excessive, to be honest with you, and that there could be a grace period, but I can't do anything about that retroactively.
Sure.
And as a member of the board, my only option is to say, hey, I propose this motion that we allow a grace period, or that we maybe charge 4% instead of 8%, but I can't do that for prior years or for something that's already happened. And even going forward, I can't say that that motion would carry. I'd only be 1 of 5 votes, so. And that doesn't, make you feel any better because
No, I
you've
pretty
already been
much
charged, but.
decided that I'm gonna get my own attorney, and I'm going to file suit against everyone. I mean,
Well, that's
I
certainly right.
can't, I'm done. This was this one little thing was the straw that broke the camel's back, this one little thing. This one little 8% that we don't have anybody, so where does this 8% go? Because we don't have anybody that does anything. We don't have anybody that can go check the property, we don't pay anybody to do anything. So where does this 8% go? That
Numbers
we're
getting
collecting?
raised.
No, that 8%, I'll be totally honest with you. That 8% is the only thing that the tax collector is paid, that's it. So if no one is delinquent, the tax collector works for free.
Well, then maybe we should make a motion to pay the tax collector and come tax season, have them available Monday through Friday from 6 to 6. You know, I mean, there has to be a solution. You know what I mean? Or we pay for her, if you're the tax
She's the tax
lady,
collector.
they pay for your cell phone. Or they pay for a house phone and an answer machine at your house.
I
Or-
do all of that already for free.
But
So
my
you're-
point is
So then are
that,
you willing to waive the 8%?
No,
Okay, then you're not doing it for free, you just said the tax collector gets the
I
8%.
said, I told
That's
you
not
that
how
I
it
do
serves.
all that other stuff.
but what I'm saying is, if we don't have an office and we don't have a place for this to be taken care of, then why can't we pay a person to do this job once a year?
So as a resident of North Bennington, it's your right to, it's your government, okay? You elected me, so if that's what you want me to do, then you can let me know that. And if I think that that's what's in the village's best interest and enough people support that idea, then I can change things if like I said, if I can get a majority of the board to do that.
I think honestly that it should be
The
looked at.
the-
It should be looked at.
village had passed this rule before, so the community, the village of North Bennington put that in place, that it was an 8% fee, and the reason they did that was because if there's no fee for paying late, then everybody pays late. So it was that's what was on the books. Unfortunately, you learned that the hard way, instead of, knowing it beforehand, but going forward, you can come to the annual meeting and raise something like that from the floor, or you can tell us to consider it as a motion. If it's an administrative thing that we can change without a town or village-wide vote, then we'll consider that.
Because I don't expect anybody to work for nothing, I don't work for free. So I understand your point with the 8%, that's what you make if somebody is late on their taxes. I think it's absurd that it was 2 days late, but, I mean, again, we both work out of town, which everybody has jobs. I was waiting on a 401k check to pay my taxes. Again, not your problem, but if anybody here has ever taken a loan from your 401k, it don't happen overnight. It's 4 months. I had to fill out paperwork, they had to send me more paperwork, so it is what it is. Okay, but there has to be a way to change. There has to be, it doesn't have to be the way it is, and if we don't evolve to making changes, then what are we doing?
Did you
We're just gonna
want
run
to-
around and
There definitely is, I have a copy of that.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I do understand, but I don't have to agree with it. I don't agree with it. You know?
Well, we have the ability to change those rules, but like I said, I can't do it retroactively.
And and I understand that. I'm frustrated, she's frustrated, for the simple fact is everything we've been through for the last almost 2 years, being told, be patient, be patient, be patient. You're 2 days late on your taxes and you're getting whacked with a $300 bill. You know what I'm saying? That, to me, is disgusting.
I agree.
Straight up, not even right, and any one of you in this room that could say you'd be happy with it either. Because every one of you would be just as angry as we are. Not to mention the thousands of dollars we spent on our house to make sure all this doesn't happen and protect our property, lose time with your grandkids, to just get slapped in the face. It's disgusting. And I hope that the board can, after I leave, talk and say, hey, wait a minute, we've been done wrong. I don't care what anybody in this room says, we've been done wrong. Yes, we were late on our taxes, 2 days, ridiculous. It's mind-boggling. And everybody can say, well, you had a bill for 3 months. It doesn't matter.
I agree that fact doesn't matter. The fact is that the facts are as you laid them out, and I feel very badly that is your situation. I feel badly that the property next to you is like that. I think probably you wouldn't be here, you know, on just the fee issue if the property hadn't been like that and you've been putting all this effort into it.
Well, the thing is,
I wish that the board had some remedy to just solve that problem, but I think we don't. Unfortunately, we're trying to deal with it through these methods that are not that effective, but hopefully you see that there has, I mean, in the last year, there has been progress. It's not the progress that you would have wanted and as quickly as you would have wanted, but the property was a lot different last year than it is this year.
it was. And I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that it's not getting better. But how long does it take to get better? If this board ran the way that that property's getting cleaned up, there would be no town of North Bennington board. Plain and simple. If you guys sit here and do nothing for a whole year and a half, almost 2 years, what's gonna happen? Right? I mean, it's the truth. If I went to my job and didn't do anything for a year and a half, or bare minimal, I'm not gonna have a job.
Yeah.
You know, it's no different with that property. We asked for 2 days, we were 2 days late,
But the village, so that,
you know?
I don't think that the problem with the property is the village though, right?
Where's the house?
You know,
Where's the house?
if a property owner decides not to clean up their house, that's not, you know, as the trustee for the village, I have certain things that I can do, but it's not my fault that he's doing that, right?
And nobody's saying that it's your fault. What I'm saying is when you do nothing about it and just allow it, this property didn't get this way overnight. It didn't get this way 2 years ago. This property has been getting this way for 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay? And when you allow that to happen, this is what you get right now.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
It
again,
does happen with certain properties.
You have to-
Sorry, again, that it
we have
happened to be
to
next door.
change. And my point is, we have to change. If you continue to go down the road you're going down, in 20 years, you're gonna be in the same boat with another piece of property.
We probably will be.
You will be, I guarantee it. It's a proven fact, it's gonna happen, unless you change something about the way we do things. And this is a great small town, with a great small school. My kids went to school here, you know what I mean? It's a very family-oriented town. And what are you asking for? Eggs. But we have to evolve, we have to change things. So I don't know what you guys have to do as a board to try to maybe get some of that. If anybody has any suggestions that if I need to put something in writing to help get the ball rolling as far as trying to make some changes, I'm
I
fine
think
with it.
we've taken you and your wife's comments on the record, and I think that's sufficient for what we need to do to take the next step, which is to make sure that our relationship with the town health inspector is good and that we continue to get that service, and that our zoning official knows that we want him to look into violations of our zoning ordinance there, so that we can continue to have pressure on the owner as well as the tenant, so that it continues in the right direction.
And I'm not even saying just that property. If we're paying him to do a job, he should be making sure everybody's property's up to snuff. Because once you start to let it go, what happens? It gets out of control, it's overwhelming. It's the same thing if you don't clean your house. Sooner or later, you're gonna be a hoarder. You kinda gotta cut the head off the monster at some point. And whatever we have to do as a community to make sure that that gets done, I think that we owe an obligation to ourselves and to our town. You know? You don't wanna live next to somebody like that. You know? It doesn't matter if your house is $400,000 or $50,000, it doesn't matter. You know, you still wanna live next to it. So I just think that we have to change whatever we're doing because it's obviously not working.
And like I said, I'm willing, I will make a follow-up with the town, and I will call you guys as soon as I'm able to get a hold of either one of them, and let you know what I find out from them, and we'll just continue to try to make progress.
You got it. I appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for your time.
All right, take care.
Just try to find some.
It's an hour.
Okay, so So, can we have the treasurer's report?
You certainly can.
I did print,
I
a couple of
printed off several of the things. One of the things I was planning to share with you, and it seems a little appropriate, is the status of taxes. We have collected and paid $703,000 to Mount Anthony, $931,000 to the Great School District. I will share this with you. Our delinquent taxes this year, I'm very pleased to say, were only 26 people. It's been as high as 40-some in the past. And there's only $61,135.69 that was delinquent. That is excellent. It has never been as low in 15 years that I can track.
so can I just, so all 26 people were charged the 8%?
That is correct.
So there's no difference whether, in
No.
terms of, there's a difference in number because it's a percentage, but
Correct.
1 day or 10 days is all
Correct.
same, and then it accrues interest as, how does the interest, it's 1%
The interest
per
is
month?
1% on unpaid principal every month or fraction thereof. So you have 1% for the month of November. You have 1% of principal only. You never have interest on interest or interest on penalty. People who make partial payments, the statute prescribes that it is paid interest first and then a portion between penalty and principal. And so that will reduce things. I will share this with you just so you can see what we legally do to do this. At the moment, there are 22 as of today that are outstanding, some in whole and some only in part. And I expect several more of those to be paid now. And I expect by the end of the month we'll be under $30,000 in outstanding taxes. There is one property that is delinquent from a year prior to the current year. And I do hope to have that collected by the end of the year.
And that's the report you gave us last
Yeah.
month, right?
Yeah.
So there's only
Yeah.
one
And
from a previous year, and
I'm
that's
hoping that
in and of
that.
itself
Yeah.
incredible. But there's only one.
Yeah. So, that's the status of where we were. I did put out this year, a two-sided easel out on the street. I had that for weeks ahead of time. Yeah, there's the remnants of it with the days and times of collections so that people could see that, and a number of people did find that helpful. There still are always people who don't see it. I will say that lots and lots of calls for people wanting to know when they can pay in person.
Outside of those hours?
Yes, yes.
And just out of curiosity, so I know with some, as long as if you mail your
Yeah.
tax bill in, it just has to be postmarked by the
We
due
do
date,
take
is
a
that correct?
postmark. I think that there is going to come a time where we have to consider not doing a postmark. One of the things to consider
But we
is
do currently do that. If
We
you have
do.
a postmark,
we
the
do,
day
and
they're
we
due,
follow,
and they're late,
we follow
it goes by the.
It has been explained to me that North Bennington has always followed the same policies as our surrounding communities. Bennington is considering, just unofficially, not doing a postmark, but I don't know that they'll.
So they've got to have it in hand by the due date.
Yeah, you have to have it in.
Okay.
We also have to have everything, all the collections reconciled and checks remitted to the school districts within 20 days of the tax due date. If you wait too long or have too much grace period, you can't do that.
Which is the majority of our tax bill, our
Yes.
school taxes.
Yes, and even though Things within postmark, they're usually in within 2 or 3 days every year. Something is 10 days or 12 days later. Where it goes, who knows, but you still have to wait a good 10 days after your due date before you know, if you accept a postmark when you have that. That will give you another week to get everything reconciled in your checks to the school district. So it's doable, but it can be a tight timeline.
Is that date set by in our charter or by statute somehow?
The tax due date?
Yeah.
No, we pick our due date, and it's usually the second Tuesday of the month. The first Tuesday of November is usually a voting day, so it's the second Tuesday, unless, what's that holiday? Veterans Day falls on there, or it's usually the 10th, I should say. It's usually been about the 10th, unless the 10th is not a Tuesday or something like that. But Shaftesbury no longer does that. They do the Friday. They do a Friday due date. But I always coordinate with Bennington, and we pick the same date. And we mutually agreed that it would be the 10th of November this year. I will tell you it will be when we have our annual meeting. I can already tell you the due date. I looked that up. And I believe it will be the 10th of November next year. There are always things we can do to try to improve the process. Amenable to any of that. I do. Seems like every year somebody says I'm not in town, but I don't mean to be snarky, but they have post boxes pretty much everywhere. So you don't have to be in town to mail things. There are people that aren't residents, they're out-of-state owners.
So
And they say, but I'm not there, so.
Bennington doesn't have a delinquent tax collector, right?
They do have a
Their
delinquent
office
tax
is-
collector. They do have a tax collector, but they're a salaried person.
Right.
They still charge the 8%.
Okay.
Any other questions about the tax status before we move on?
I wonder if they have requests to waive the fee. And
They do.
Since they have a salary person, what do they like?
They do, and they do not honor them,
Okay.
as does Shaftesbury, and they do not honor.
It's a tricky road to go down.
Yeah.
Because if you have one request and honor it, you gotta honor every single request you get.
Right.
Otherwise, you're showing favoritism.
And that becomes the thing, you know, it's
It's
certainly not the way that you want to collect money, but, you know, if you show up at the airport a day late, do they waive your change fee? I doubt it,
No, it's a different.
you know?
Maybe that availability is there for like if you have a heart attack the day the taxes are due and you're in the hospital, that might be waived.
Well, I'm just wondering, I mean, every other bill that you pay has a grace period though, for the most part. And I think there's a built-in grace period here because you get the bill back in
Not your federal
September.
taxes.
And you can just say,
Now-
well, I have, you know, this, and that.
So your federal taxes have no grace period. In fact,
Right,
if you don't pay them early,
yeah, that's true.
you get
So
paid, you get
taxes-
charged a late fee if you pay them on time.
Yeah,
Because if you don't estimate your taxes properly, I've been billed by the federal government
yeah.
when I paid my tax bill before the due date, but I didn't pay it quarterly I didn't estimate them correctly, so I didn't pay them early enough.
Now, one
And it was not a late date, and I still got charged a late fee. So
I'm
taxes are very
considering
different.
that next year, we typically wait until the 15th of September or thereafter. The 15th is on a weekend, and we don't do it then, to do our taxes for two reasons. A, we have to wait until Shaftesbury and Bennington send out their tax bills, because we get their lists, and they're all programmed together, and they Venn diagram them all, and we get the rest. The second thing is that September 15th is the first big adjustment from the state of Vermont. They take everybody who, especially with the homestead adjustments, if you don't file your homestead adjustment on time on April 15th, then you're not, the tax bills that we get, the grand list that we get as of July 1st is not gonna be correct for those people. September 15th is the first adjustment that we get with those corrections. So we have always, Gail always waited until the 15th. Properly so, because otherwise you got a dozen changes.
Right.
But I am considering that doing it earlier, even though there will be some changes, just so for those other people, the majority of the people might get their tax bill a week earlier or a couple weeks earlier. And so that may be helpful for some people to do. Any other tax questions? Then I will move on. The Better Roads Grant, thank you Norm and John and BCRC for helping us with that. We have 2 applications in for the Better Roads Grant. One is the roads inventory, and Norm, I know you and Jim have talked about making that a roads and culvert inventory. They couldn't do that, so we had to change it to just the road erosion only. And then we also have River Road ditching culverts on that. And then the last thing I have, other than the reports, if there's any questions on those reports, is the loan request for the truck. After last meeting, when we had a loan bid for $140,000, here's what I requested. John, can you pass them along? That we get a loan in place for $120,000. The Delury bill was 96 plus. The Viking work is 74,490, and then there was just about $2,000 in changes that Norm alerted me to, a little bit of extra equipment that is needed on that, for a total cost of that vehicle of $171,465. We are planning to sell the one truck to Shasberry for the $35,000. Norm just delivered a check for $10,000 for one of the surplus pieces of surplus equipment. Just to round it off, I would take $6,465 out of the reserve. That won't significantly affect the reserve for when we need to get the next trucks, and that would leave a rounded $120,000 to secure a loan. I would like you guys to consider doing that tonight. I spoke with the bank officer today. She actually reached out to me because our bid proposal actually ended at the end of November, but they're extending that for us because they know we only meet once a month. So that's appropriate. I believe the last minutes reflected that John could sign any additional loan documents. I'd like to have that in place before we have to pay that next bill.
Did you already say when we were expecting the truck, or did I miss that?
It's being built right now.
Yeah.
It's in their shop.
It's in their shop. When it's not.
I thought that was only supposed to take a week or 2.
No, 6 to 10. And it is, so the sale of the truck to Shasberry, we keep that truck until we get our new truck. And they're still okay with that. It's still gonna be, it's still gonna be.
I don't think that it doesn't seem to be that 35,000 is the price at this point. Because we told them that they're gonna have it in August, and
Well, they know. I mean,
they're not.
nobody's arguing.
to that,
They're not hurting for the lack of it.
to that point. No, they're doing okay. We helped them the other day, they had a truck broke, we gave them one. We have a very good relationship, it's not strained at all by this.
But I'd like to build in like $5,000 there, just in case that needs to be adjusted.
All right, so then we just won't do the full reserve fund. We'll do 125,000.
If that, does anybody else see an issue there?
No, because if you build that in
Yeah.
and we don't get the extra, you can always take money out of that reserve to pay down the principal, right? If we so choose, so we're not gonna, so you're saying you're not gonna take the money out of reserve?
I would
Bump
take,
this up to 120.
I would take 1,465 out of the reserve,
Yeah.
just that little bit, just to round it to a loan of 125,000. If you get the full amount of the truck, the 35 from Shaftesbury, I just pay off the loan that much earlier.
Yeah, that's fine.
So and you're saying you want me to sign the document?
I don't have the document. I would like you to approve that we can do this, and I will have the documents ready
Didn't we
tomorrow.
already approve that? Just saying up to 140?
Because we had
What
already
you,
set up to.
what you did is you signed a bid, a loan bid. This is the exact amount of the loan I'm asking for.
Right, but we already, I thought we already approved for John to sign.
You
If
did.
it was before.
But you approved to do a loan of up to the 140. Now, what I'm saying is that what John signed before was a bid for a loan. This will be to prepare the actual loan document. The actual loan will be 125,000. If you want to, if you just say we don't need any more motions, we can just do
No, wait, it
it.
takes 2 seconds to make a motion.
I think so we did make an adjustment to the minutes.
Yes.
Say that Mark Boudreau made a motion to take a municipal loan from Community Bank up to the amount of $140,000 to cover the new dump truck recently purchased from Delores. The loan will be 5 years at 2.95%. Is that still the
Correct.
case?
We just not have an exact number.
Yes,
That we
and
can.
I'm just trying to let you
And
know
if
that.
we're saying we gave,
Yeah.
part of that motion was that
Yes.
if it happened before this meeting, then John could go ahead and sign those papers, so he can sign them at any point without any further motions, because
Yes.
we already made a motion for him to sign up to that amount.
Right.
So I think,
And the first,
We've discussed it, it's all on the
Yep.
open public record, so I will go ahead and sign that document because we now know that it's gonna be less than 140, it's gonna be 125. Okay.
and then my last bit of business, which may become under other business at some point, is to discuss budget meetings.
Yep. You wanna do one before Christmas? or-
I would like to, just so that we can,
So we'll continue this meeting?
yeah, that will be within a week.
Yeah.
Christmas is like a week and a half.
So next Tuesday, no, next Tuesday's a water meeting. We could meet on the other side if we wanted to.
I'm fairly open.
Is anyone?
It's a little
and do you
difficult.
want to check with
I was gonna say,
the
it's
other trustees?
it's
just
gonna
so
be
you
difficult to
can
set
have
a
full
meeting
board?
without at least getting
I
there.
don't think we can do that really. I think what we could do would be to set one, and then if we find out that it's really not gonna work for a quorum, then we can move it.
Okay,
But, even if it ends up just being me showing up and saying, John,
okay.
So 17th at,
do you want does 7 work for people, or do you want to try and make it?
No, I
early?
have a water department.
I mean, I can do it earlier, I can do it earlier depending on what anyone else can do. I'm free from
How long do they
basically.
usually run, 6 o'clock?
Actually, that water department meeting, that's their budget meeting, so it'll go from about 6 to 8, maybe 6 to 8:30.
Okay, so it'll be Tuesday.
Yeah, let's not
No, Thursday the 19th?
That's okay with me.
No, John, you can't do that.
Oh, is that the concert?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And I have cast.
And Aaron can't do that either.
What about Wednesdays? Or Mondays?
I'm unavailable both of those days next week, but that doesn't preclude us from meeting.
Well, we could go into early January if we had to,
We can,
but
you
it's,
wanna try?
it's just nice to do two.
15th at 4. Anyone available Sunday,
No,
15th? Friday the 19th? Friday
That's
the
a
20th,
Thursday.
sorry, Friday the 20th.
oh, Friday the 20th. Yes.
Friday the 20th might work. And there's probably
Yes.
holiday stuff, so if we make it maybe a little early, like maybe at 5 or something, would that help people so they have the evening set?
I can do that.
I can do that.
Alright, so let's tentative, well, it's not tentative, let's set it for Friday, December 20th at 5. And then, if we know that we're not gonna have a quorum, then
Reset.
yeah. So the next item is highway.
Still like that?
Yeah. So, not much, I mean, we've been plowing, cleaning up, trying to finish things from the fall that we didn't get completed. And, that's pretty much it.
We did have our 90-day review for Justin just before the meeting tonight. It was just a check-in to see how he was doing, and I also asked Norm to provide any comments. And so I think, I don't, Norm and I are discussing, how that is going, but it's nothing that there's any concern as far as his employment or what we as a board have jurisdiction over, so I think we're doing really well there.
Good.
Okay, so unless you want to stay for the rest, you're excused. Thank you for coming, I appreciate it. Sorry that it took so long to get to your short report, but also just, again, I feel like a broken record, but I do want to make sure that I always appreciate everything that you do because your hours are so difficult. I really can't do anything except for say thank you, and that I do notice that you're out there on, Friday night, late, early, and then getting up again early Saturday morning, and working on Sundays and holidays and missing your planned vacation. So I just, if you are feeling like, I think you should be recognized for that, essentially.
Thank you.
The nice thing to know is you can always tell where our property lines are in the winter. Because you can always see where the road conditions change, and ours are always better than where we're going, so.
Right, and that's just not me, that's a staff of 3.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, we certainly didn't forget everyone that helps out with that.
And that was, so, okay, that was, Friday, I was out late pretty Friday, which I probably shouldn't have, but I did notice that coming back in here, it was like clean once I got to North Bennington. But if you would pass along our thanks to Big Al and
Big A.
and Mr. Bogan too, that would really be appreciated, because I know it's the same, times that they need to be into, so not super convenient. Okay, awesome, thank you very much. I don't have anything from the Development Review Board other than, I have an email basically drafted at this point to Christine and to ask him to look into zoning options we have, which I think would essentially be to find the property owner.
First inspect and then determine whether they may be in
Right,
violation.
the only enforcement mechanism that we have though is a fine. But maybe that helps keep the ball going forward.
I think we're trying to exert enough pressure that they finally be compliant.
Right. I want to just get through a couple, because I think there were a couple other items down toward the bottom of the, so I don't know of anything from the Planning Commission, the Fire Department, the Water Department. Project is wrapped up for the Water Department finally. There were definitely some issues at the end of that. I think there was a little bit of, it's not conflict, but back and forth about, are we getting wrapped up here, or we just keep digging? The snow's falling and the backhoes are
It's all
still.
gone now.
So.
Stick and gum it out right now.
But I was glad that they didn't cut across Madison Road, because they stayed to the sides. So they didn't have to patch a cross section. The sides of the road are not convenient to plow with the edges are soft because of the work that was done. So that's not great. But hopefully, we'll see
See what the spring brings.
how it holds up, and they're responsible to, put it back to the way that it was come spring. And I don't have any reason to think that they won't do that. That's, I think that the patch jobs and the stuff that they've done looks pretty good to me. So, I don't have any appointment for the commissioner to the DCRC. Did anybody think of a name or anybody that we might want to appoint for that position? Or okay, let's re-warn that for the next meeting, and I'll see if I can come up with something.
I have somebody that I would ask that I think would be a good appointment, but I wouldn't dare mention someone's name before.
Right, without asking first, sure.
But I will do that.
I'm pretty sure that, so this is a position that is municipality based, not district.
Correct.
So it would have to be somebody in the village,
Mhm.
not the Shasbury.
And how often they meet?
That's, I got a couple of friends that are, I was thinking of, but they're actually in Shasbury.
They
How
meet
often do
every
they-
other month.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6 times a year.
Yeah.
And I think I think they really would like to have somebody that will attend the meetings. But if we can't get anybody, I think they'll take somebody
That would,
that, that's interested and that will do something, but maybe can't.
when
make
and
every
where
year.
are meetings?
I don't know that. I think they're probably at the offices.
They're
Yeah, they
usually,
are.
yeah, and sometimes I know they have had them in different places and they have other speakers. And I've gone to only, I think maybe only one, but it's interesting work.
Verizon Wireless Tower, we did have a response from them. Just
spoken to several residents about it, and the majority are fine with it and interested in having the tower. One expressed concerns about radiation and health effects, but the others all just wanted more cell service, so they were okay with it.
When you look for the email, wasn't there a request we made for a longer term?
Yeah, there was a lease attached. Seem to have lost that. Oh, here we go. It's the one with the big star. Okay. So the next stage of this process is that they have sent for our review it's not really a lease offer, I don't think, but it's essentially a lease of the kind that they do for these, with some more specifics put in as to our particular situation. And so my response was that my understanding of the process would be that if we wanted to enter into the lease, if we wanted to agree to this and have the tower there and under the lease terms that they're specifying, that we would want to have a public comment period, so that we give some notice to the village to do as we've done informally up to this point, to have a couple of dates maybe to formally say, okay, this is your opportunity to come and raise either support or objection.
And what they said, they would obviously send a representative to the meeting.
I'm sure they would, if we let them know what it's going to be. And then we even would have the option, because of where this falls in the year, to warn this on the village, on the annual meeting, I would think. And it could be, I think that the trustees have the authority to, it's my view that we would have the authority to enter into the lease and to allow this, but it might be something we want to consider as a vote as opposed to a.
Yeah, I would think with something that could be that noticeable and have an impact, we would definitely want to get community support.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I guess, is there, I think that was sent, did anybody look at that lease at all, or?
I did not, but I just looked at their proposal and, kind of what the next steps were. I didn't get into the details of the lease.
Okay. I think we did have, obviously any lease that we would sign, we'd have it reviewed by our attorney first. I think we did have a sort of an informal review. I think it is the terms are fairly standard, and usually there's a little bit of back and forth because our attorney does like to, protect particular little things, but I don't think there's anything serious that would be a deal breaker. So I would be in favor of proceeding with this to the public meeting process. I would say that maybe we could make a motion to authorize 2 public meetings and to warn the item on the town, for the town meeting.
So we're looking at those meetings maybe sometime in the spring. If you're going to warn at the meeting in March, you'd be looking at.
Well, if we warned it, wouldn't we warn it to approve the project, or would you want a separate vote for that, like at a different time, like a special?
Well, I guess I'm asking, what is your,
What I would say is 2 public comment periods.
prior to the
before-
March meeting, and then have a vote on whether to
Yeah,
actually
do it.
enter into this? Oh, I can change my, I misunderstood that.
That's what I would propose.
Yeah.
I guess I could, all right, so rather than say, suggest, maybe I'll actually do that. So I'll move that we schedule 2 public meetings and warn them in the, give notice in the newspaper and our normal locations of the dates. We invite the representative to attend, have those dates be prior to our annual meeting, and then warn a vote it would, is it, I'm just trying to think, Lori, if you can help me with this. Is it would we be preparing a ballot item, like a vote, or would we just be warning an issue that's to be for discussion on the floor, and then somebody could make a motion at the meeting to approve it or something?
So I think there's room for discussion prior to that, and they would be voting on. So it would be, does the Village of North Bennington authorize the cell tower on Mechanic Street for placement at, whatever specific location?
So if we have those.
Because there is room for discussion there, so.
Okay, right.
And you already have your public meetings prior to that, so.
And if we warn votes like that for the annual meeting, we usually
It's a floor vote.
decide
so
that.
You decided that night.
January or so, or when we.
Well,
It would have to
yeah,
be in
we're
the-
talking about this now, which is, I know Mary's trying to push for the budget, which is important. I need letters, I need the warning done, in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
To have it in place and warn properly for
But
March.
for something like this, do you have to have a separate discussion meeting before the floor vote?
Well,
Or do you
not
have-
that night, I think that you do have to have these public meetings prior
Yeah.
to.
That's
And then you can make that decision that night. Of course, there will be discussion because there will be people who didn't know about the
Right.
public
Which
hearings
is what we
prior
want, we
to,
do want that.
Yeah.
so,
Okay, so the second half of my motion would be that we add language to our warning for our annual meeting that that there will be a floor vote on whether the village shall enter into a lease agreement with Cellco partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless for installation and maintenance of a cell phone tower at the town garage property on Mechanic Street, at 56 Mechanic Street.
Second.
Okay. And is there any objection, or all those in favor indicate by saying aye? Aye. So we'll see how that goes. So I think that's, that way we don't know whether, I don't honestly know whether the village is in support of it or not, but I think that these opportunities for people to speak, as well as putting it on the floor of our annual meeting, will give us a clear sense, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely something, we definitely want to not just take that upon ourselves to make a decision.
So did you decide a date for a preliminary meeting?
not yet.
No, I think that what I said was that we'll schedule 2 public
Meetings.
hearings, and those will be noticed, both of them will be noticed.
Okay, but no dates have been. or
No,
were
and I mean,
on
the
us.
easiest thing to do, in my opinion, is at your regular January meeting and your regular
Yeah,
February
yeah.
meeting. Because, people people know that those are our meeting
Yeah.
dates, and you can
Yeah.
open a public
Yeah.
hearing at any time during those meetings.
I think the key would be to just contact the
The Verizon, and give
companies
them
that
those
send
two
a representative
dates.
to either one of those meetings.
I wonder if we could schedule it for the day of the Winter Fest.
Saturday, January 25th.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And have the representative, have it be a meeting, but it's basically just open the door, have the representative here, and then there's a ton of people here, so you can actually get a lot of people to have information. We'll think about it. We
I don't know,
have
we
to
get a lot of
decide
people
today.
from out of town too.
Right. Yeah. Something to think about. The other businesses, we have had a request from Max Meisler to work for the village on the administrative side for his J term, to try to advance some of our grant opportunities and other stuff that we basically, that kind of move slowly to kind of try to speed those things up a little bit. So there is a Google Doc. If that's difficult for people to access, just let me know and I can figure out. What's that?
So my wife can help.
Okay, but the only thing that we want to do now with it, so we want to make sure that people get their names and phone number on there, and then what projects they want to be associated with him. But then we do want to prioritize them. So amongst us, we want to decide, okay, what do we want to work on first, so that day one he gets there and one or two things, and then move down the list to the lesser priorities.
I know that the ordinance work would be something that he could,
You'd like to get
Good.
that up to the
well, it should be, we've been talking about it for so many
Yeah,
years now. It's a long, tedious process, and we have somebody that's willing to work, and it's also something that can be done if he works on several of them and makes progress, and then we find something else that can take priority. Then he can take a pause once he finishes one ordinance and go and do something else that we can bump along, and that can be where he fills the bulk of his time, where we might not have something that's pressing, that's something that could always be there.
Awesome.
So if we kind of put that at the top of his list, this is where you're gonna start, and then at any time, we can want to say, okay, we're gonna put that aside for a brief period, because we'd like to get this grant worked on. If he works on the grant, gets that done, then it goes back to our ordinance, so we can use that ordinance as time that when he's got time, he's working on it. And that can always, you can stop at any new ordinance to start something else and then jump back in on that process.
That makes
That would
sense.
be my opinion.
Agree.
Okay, great. And it sounds like we just do that with the document, so perfect. The village roundtable has asked us to basically give our blessing for some private Christmas lights and things to go up, both, I think, partly on village property, so that's
Yeah,
why
they
they're asking
identified
us.
4
but-
trees plus the ginkgo in the middle of town. And they talked to you, Norm?
They did, there's a few hurdles that they have to overcome.
Okay.
Like getting a bucket to get things.
Like a
to
bucket
fire.
truck, yes. So, the trees are not,
Short.
that's right.
Yeah, so
How-
are you in agreement that,
Good question.
I'm fine with it as long as they take it down, right?
Well, and that was one of the points of discussion with the tree at the center of town, the big ginkgo tree. Those lights are supposed to take off in the springtime, because so don't girdle the tree. I don't think 1 year is gonna kill it. But, yeah, that's what she said. She wanted to put a couple Christmas trees out here in front of the building. I don't think it's a bad idea.
Where is the power source for the ginkgo going to be?
There is in the park, but actually, the biggest tree is the easiest one to light up.
Okay.
It's, like here, and a couple of the other places are really, they're really, hard.
I really appreciate that offer, though. I think it helps beautify the village at Christmas time, and it also is like, not a cost to us, so it's great that the community is, you know.
I think we would be smart to put a start-stop date.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it would be helpful if we let them know, it would be just smart. Otherwise, if we just say that you clean up after the holidays, well, August.
That
is
could
after
be,
the
that
holidays.
could be February, yeah.
So I think it would be smart to just, especially in terms of, you know, what's convenient for the maintenance we have to do too.
But I think you have to, if you're gonna do that, you have to do that for all of it.
Meaning what?
Meaning you don't leave the lights on in the depot all year round if you're going to have people take their Christmas tree lights down, so.
No, if they're doing it on village property, then we.
But don't you think the lights should be turned off or unplugged in this depot and not left on all year?
I
But
think
are
Christmas
they're
lights? I'm sorry, what?
They're not necessarily holiday lights.
I would always have thought they were, and so do the residents.
Yeah, like these guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Aggressive right now.
I'm sorry.
No, I think,
No, I
but
don't think
I
they
think
should
the
be
difference
up
is,
year-round.
yeah, well, I mean, that's a fine discussion to have, but I think the difference is these are inside the building and not outside, and depending on what they're putting up trees or the live trees, Christmas trees die, they,
Become fire hazards?
yeah, so I'm just saying if we're, I mean, I have no problem with that.
And I was just looking at it
They
as
need
holiday
greenery.
decorations. They go up, they come down, for everybody.
Right, but if they're asking to put things on,
You know, it's really not that big a deal to me.
yeah,
It really isn't.
no, I'm just saying, to me, it makes sense that we, you know, if we say, yes, that's a great idea, but, you know, can we agree on a date that they're gonna go up and agree on a date they're gonna go down?
Okay. So I will respond to Sandra on that. I don't have anything else. Mr. Boudreau, do you have any announcements?
I wasn't planning on it, but if you would like me to, I can. No, I am planning on stepping down at the annual meeting.
Is it your time? I mean, are you
It is, I don't even know if it's,
on the
scheduled
year?
or not. But I've decided to step back from several things and this happens to be one of them.
No.
As much as I appreciate doing it, enjoy doing it, there's just a time to go.
Yeah, there was no intention to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, that's fine, I got no
It was
problem. I
just
told
that
people, so it's
I
not-
think that it's important that if somebody, you know, is interested in
Absolutely.
running for the board, that you be able to have time to think about it.
Expired 2021.
Okay.
No, oh, sorry, not you expired your term. Yes, your term
So it'll be a
was
year.
2021.
Right, so.
Who else is
a
up
year
for
earlier.
a vote this year? 2020.
Actually,
Let's see, this may be, John, this couldn't have been right because this said Aaron's expires 2019.
yeah, why don't we?
Well, we re-elected her.
That's
in
right,
19.
okay.
I remember we were changing from like a 2-year to a 3-year.
Right,
So Tara, you and Matthew are
Are up for.
up in 2020. And then John and Mark were 2021. Yeah, you're right, so that
Because they
did
would
make
have
sense.
said
Yes,
19,
yes,
so we
yes,
would be re-elected.
yes.
Shouldn't be too difficult.
Okay. So is that what was, that was so there's 1 year left on this 3-year term? or-
Correct. Mark's was a 3-year term period. Did you want to take that?
Because I know that we did have an issue that if we could add that to our things to look at was, I thought the intention was to have everybody on a 3-year term, but to stagger the years that, right?
Right,
We're
so
still
it should be
shifting through that.
2-2-1.
Yeah,
I believe it's right.
so that's why Aaron was
That's-
on a
yeah.
2-year term, because we were
Is that
transferred.
So we elected Aaron. You know, why don't I send you the minutes from the meeting, and that'll make
Yeah.
sense.
So I know when all said and done, we should
That
be,
one we did.
yeah, we should be
Sorry, I don't think I
expiring
had it in my book here.
2, and then 1, and And that should be the cycle moving forward for all 3 years.
I'll send you the meeting minutes from the annual meeting and you can see what you did. How's that?
That'd be great.
Can I have my book back?
Yep. Okay, and I just have one brief item for executive session on that. It's a specific of that contract that I don't think we can release to the public right now. But,
I would make a motion to move into executive session.
and when we come, I think the only thing that we'll do when we come out of executive session is continue the meeting to
December 20th.
December 20th at 5. Okay, just so everybody's aware, you're welcome to come December 20th at 5 right here. Thank you very much.